Good morning. Welcome to the Boise Unitarian Church. We're so pleased to see you here on this lovely summer morning. We are a spiritually diverse, justice-seeking religious community, proclaiming the power of love at the core of our living tradition, love of neighbor, love of ourselves, and love of our planet. Whoever you are and wherever you are on your spiritual journey, you're welcome here. Whatever faith you've known, if any, you are welcome here. Whomever you love, however you identify, you are welcome. Welcome to you all. I'm Patricia Heeb. I'm your celebrant this morning. I'm not a professional celebrant, so we may stumble along on occasion. We just hope that you'll give us a lot of breadth. We're also joined by Carrie Bastian, who is a professional, but she's missing right now. She's our musical director. And we're pleased that today Roger and Cathy Sherman, who are old boofers, are going to bring us really old. They're going to bring us a report about their experience of the last General Assembly. It looks like it's going to be a lovely day today. A special welcome to our newcomers that are joining us for the first time. We know it takes courage to enter a new community, and we are happy that you've chosen to be here this morning. We invite you to introduce yourself to us during the hospitality time after the service. There's a hospitality room with coffee and tea and especially a lot of goodies. And we get a chance to chat with you and welcome you in person. And please fill out one of the newcomer forms found in the entryway so that we can keep track of you. That was not in the script, but I want to remind you that our inquiries, how do you say that word? Inquiries series for newcomers begins this week in the Channing Room, which is in the other wing, the south wing of the church. This is our series that introduces newcomers to the Unitarian Universalism and to this fellowship, but anyone is welcome if you'd like to sort of brush up on some of the basics. Each week, we begin our worship service centering ourselves by lighting the flaming chalice, a symbol of our free faith, a beacon of hope, love, and justice. We light our chalice in solidarity with thousands of others Unitarian Universalists across the nation and the world, reminding us that we're connected to a greater community of faith and love. As we light the chalice here in the sanctuary, I invite those of you in the virtual community to light a chalice or a candle if you have one nearby, and then share in the chat where your chalice is lit. I invite you now to rise in body or spirit and to join together in singing hymn number 1020, Woyaya. That's the name of the hymn, in the teal hymnal. All repeats are marked in the music, and they will all be observed.
We come from and live on land considered sacred by many indigenous peoples, known as Bannock, Shoshone, Paiute, and many other tribes that lived here sustainably for thousands of years, inhabiting a vast region including much of Idaho.
We recognize the long history of the land, long before colonization, and acknowledge the ancient tribes whose names have been lost in history.
With this acknowledgement, we wish to demonstrate our commitment to dismantling the legacies of settler colonialism. We honor Indigenous peoples' connection to the land and support their right to sovereignty.
In the challenges of these truths, may we move through the world bringing justice in every way that we can, listening to the truths spoken to us by Native American peoples, making space for them to re-inhabit this place, and giving them back the resources they need to heal their communities.
As I've mentioned, our guest preachers today are Roger and Cathy Sherman, longtime active members of BOOF, who will, they're old, is that what it is? They're going to share their experience of the latest General Assembly. As we enter into this time of worship, let us take a moment to breathe together. Fill your body with breath, knowing that our breath connects us to our bodies, to one another, and to our planet. Our breath offers us the opportunity to tune in to our spiritual center, to listen deeply to our heart's own longing. This is the place for the ringing of the bowl. I don't know how to ring the bowl, so this is going to be the dinging of the bowl. Thou art the song of my heart in the morning. Thou art the dawn of truth in my soul. Thou art the dew of the roses adorning. Thou art the woven whole. Thine is the grace to be steadfast in danger. Thine is the peace that none can destroy. Thine is the face of the need-driven stranger. Thine are the wings of joy. Thou art the deep to the deep in me calling. Thou art a lamp where my feet shall tread. Thy way is steep past the peril of falling. Thou art my daily bread. Thine be the praise of my spirit uplifted. Thou art the sea to each flowing stream. Thine be the days that are gathered and sifted. Thou art the deathless dream. For our centering music today, Carrie will play Don't Know Much, but parentheses, but I Know I Love You by Barry Mann, Cynthia Wells, and Tom Snow. The arranger is unknown. This tune was made popular back in 1989 through a duet by Aaron Neville and Linda Ronstadt in 1989. Our call to worship this morning is from Mary Oliver, Deep Summer. I'm a Mary Oliver fan, so that's where all of our readings are coming from this morning. Deep Summer. The mockingbird opens his throat among the thorns for his own reasons, but doesn't mind if we pause to listen and learn something for ourselves. He doesn't stop. He nods his gray head with the frightfully bright eyes. He flirts his supple tail. He says, "Listen. If you would listen, there is no end to good talk, to passionate songs, to the melodies that say, 'This branch, this tree is mine,' to the wholesome happiness of being alive on a patch of this green earth in the deep pleasures of summer. What a bird. Your clocks," he says plainly, "which are always ticking, do not need to be listened to. The spirit of his very every word." Come, let us worship together this morning. With our promise of building beloved community, we celebrate our commitments to being a multi-generation community, a community of generosity, a community of care and connection. In the spirit of that, I'd like to invite our children up to the front, but now I'm thinking that that we'd rather have the children just stay put where they are, but listen in because we have children's time now.
Great, thank you. Hi, how's everybody doing? Thumbs up? Yeah, I got my thumbs up. All right, so I'm Travis. I am the DRE, the Director of Religious Exploration, and I have got a story today. And this is a story that I've just been wanting to do for a while, so I'm doing it today. And it's based on a book called The Old Turtle. Anybody read The Old Turtle? Yeah, it's by Douglas Wood. It's a great book. So once long ago, yet not so very long ago, when all the beings of the world could still speak and understand each other, a great argument began. It started quietly, as soft as a breeze. And the wind is God, said one voice. No, said a stone. God is a great rock, still and strong. And wrong, said the mountain. God is a snowy peak high in the clouds. And not at all, said the fish. God's a swimmer. God's a swimmer. No, blinked the star. God is light, far away, and always shining. And the ant piped up. God is a sound, a smell, a feeling, and very close. The antelope said, God is a runner, swift and free. She is a tree, murmured the willow, always growing and giving. And no, said the island, the God is apart, separate. God is the sun, said the sun. God flows like me, said the river. She's a hunter, said the lion. He's gentle, said the robin. She's powerful, said the bear. And the voices rose louder and louder and louder as they argued until suddenly, stop! A new voice spoke. It rumbled and it whispered all at once, and it came from Old Turtle. Old Turtle. Now, Old Turtle almost never spoke. Many things had never heard it speak before, and it certainly never argued, but this time she did speak. And she said, God is deep, she told the fish. And higher than high, she said to the mountain, and swift and free, said to the wind. And still and solid like a rock, and she is life itself, always close, and yet beyond the farthest star. God is what we come from, and God is what we seek, and God just is. And the world fell quiet. And then Old Turtle said something else, something very important. He said, a new family of beings are coming to this world. They will be strange. They will be wonderful. They will come in many colors and shapes with different voices and different dreams. And they'll walk the earth but think about the stars. They'll be strong and tender. There'll be a message from God to the earth. And so people came. But soon they forgot they were a message. They forgot they were a prayer. They began to argue about God. Who knew God? Who didn't? Where God was, or was God even real? And while they argued, they hurt the earth. The forests began to die. The oceans grew sick. The animals disappeared. And it seemed like the people couldn't even remember who they were. Until one day, a voice came again. Soft like a butterfly's sneeze, and deep like thunder across the sky. And it said, please stop. Listen. Just listen. There is no end to good talk, to passion songs. There to the melodies that say, this branch is mine, and to the wholesome happiness of being alive on a patch. Sorry. Oh, I grabbed the wrong page. I was like, this isn't at all the story. Okay. We're going to rewind. Please stop. The mountain said, sometimes I see God swimming in the sea. And then the ocean said, sometimes I see God in snowy peaks. And the wind said, I see God dancing through the rocks. And the star said, God is very close. And the island whispered, God loves and touches everything. And slowly, after a long and scary time, the people began to listen. They began to see God in one another and in the beauty of the earth. And Old Turtle smiled. And so did God. The end. And that book is by a man named Douglas Wood, available at your local library. I forgot to bring my copy, but it's a wonderful book, and the illustrations are amazing. So I highly recommend. Okay, we're gonna take our leave.
Oh. There were a couple of children that almost got shut in. When we give, we say yes to the natural cycle of abundance in our lives, and we say yes to building beloved communities within and beyond our walls. We commit ourselves to do the work of justice and compassion for all people and our earth. Today, we share those gifts with our plate partner, which says insert name here, and I don't know who the plate partner is. Does anybody? Meshka, the church in Transylvania. Thank you. This is what happens when you're the amateur trying to do the job. Thank you. So I invite the ushers to come forward, and our offering will be gratefully received. As the ushers bring our offering forward, please join me in the collective blessing of our offering this morning. The words are printed on the bookmark found in your seat pockets. We bless these gifts so freely given. May generosity always be our companions as we walk towards ever greater compassion and beauty. Our reading this morning is More Honey Locust, again from Mary Oliver. Any day now the branches of our honey locust will be filled with white fountains. In my hands I will see the holy seeds, and a sweetness will rise up from those petal bundles so heavy I must close my eyes to take it in, to bear such generosity. I hope that you too know the honey locust, the fragrance of those fountains. And I hope that you too will pause to admire the slender trunk, the leaves, the holy seeds, the ground they grow from, year after year, with striving and patience. And I hope that you too will say a word of thanks for such creation of the wholesome earth, which would be, and dearly it is needed, a prayer for all of us. What I have here is fire of my heart. Oh,
We on? Okay, now we're on. All right. I think most of you are familiar with the Buddhist form of meditation, the metta, loving kindness meditation. May I be filled with loving kindness. May we be at ease. Well, there's another form of Tibetan Buddhist meditation called Tonglen. And in that form, you breathe in the suffering of others and the suffering of the world, and then you breathe out peace. And when I first heard about Tonglen, I thought that is a horrible idea. Why would I want to imagine breathing in suffering? And then I learned more about it and realized that the idea is that you take in that suffering, not as some kind of magic spell, but as a way of changing your own self and to become more compassionate, more feeling towards others. And then you transform that within yourself, and then you breathe out the love and the peace. So this is a song that Mike and I wrote several years ago. It's pretty simple, and we've done it a few times. When we get to the chorus, I breathe out peace, I breathe out hope, joy, love. It's very simple. Please sing along with me. I breathe in the trouble of a hurting world. I breathe it down, down into the fire of my heart, where the flames of compassion consume and transform all the trouble into peace. I breathe out peace, I breathe out peace, as a prayer for a world in need. I breathe out peace, I breathe out peace, peace for all, peace for you and for me. I breathe in the despair of a hurting world. I breathe it down, down into the fire of my heart, where the flames of compassion consume and transform all despair into hope. I breathe out hope, I breathe out hope, as a prayer for a world in need. I breathe out hope, I breathe out hope, hope for all, hope for you and for me. I breathe in the sadness of a hurting world. I breathe it down, down into the fire of my heart, where the flames of compassion consume and transform all the sadness into joy. I breathe out joy, I breathe out joy, as a prayer for a world in need. I breathe out joy, I breathe out joy, joy for all, joy for you and for me. I breathe in the cruelty of a hurting world. I breathe it down, down into the fire of my heart, where the flames of compassion consume and transform all the cruelty into love. I breathe out love, I breathe out love, as a prayer for a world in need. I breathe out love, I breathe out love, love for all, love for you and for me.
you. We are pleased this morning to welcome Roger and Cathy Sherman, who are going to share their experiences with the last General Assembly. Cathy and Roger.
Good morning. I'm Roger Sherman. I am both an old and long-term member of BOOF. Cathy's not as old as I am. Yeah, so there you go. So heckling is not, heckling is fine. It's fine. We're used. So how many of you have been to a General Assembly? Okay, good. So there's a good crowd of you who can share your experiences as well. So ours will be our reflections on this particular 2025 one, but you know, as you'll probably hear bits and pieces of things that are reflective of the broader way in which we operate. So being among 3,000 or so UUs in one place is, to put it simply, quite powerful. But it's also oddly familiar. The hopes, dreams, and deep concerns I think that we share as BOOF members here, were really echoed, multiplied, amplified, you know, by having that many voices in one place. It's like a shared chorus of shared values sung by thousands of voices, just like when we sing together, you know, how much power that brings. And I think you feel like that when you're in those large groups with, you know, all of these people with shared views, shared values, shared all the things, right? So the 2025 General Assembly of the Unitarian Universalist Association taught us not just about policy or process, but really about power, possibility, about faith, about sort of a rethinking or reimagining of kind of where we are and where we are as UUs. And just as an aside, it was my perspective, I think our perspective, that BOOF really is quite healthy in many, many ways, that we, in terms of our involvement, in terms of our numbers, in terms of the people who show. We also have many similarities. They ran us through a bunch of different kind of census-taking kind of thing within the church, and among those were, you know, that we don't have as many kids, nationwide or, you know, denomination-wide. That's something that we really need to be aware of. We tend to be an older crowd. You know, at the UU. At the UUA, you sort of have this feeling like we're an old crowd led by young people, you know, which is really kind of an interesting thing, which is cool at one level, but it also reflects something that I think hopefully we can continue to shift and bring some of our kids back. Mine are not here. But one of the thoughts that really struck me, we UUs in many ways are really the antithesis of today's political moment. Where our wider culture is polarized and authoritarian tendencies are rising, we have moved deliberately toward democracy. If our values, this is my little thing, is if values were laid side by side with the current political regimes, they might cancel each other out totally. Bam, obliterated, right? See what I did? Yeah.
I'm from Baltimore, so going to GA was a chance to see Baltimore in a different light, a UU light. Our liberal faith fits Baltimore, at least ideologically. The city is extremely diverse and over 60% African American. That impacts the culture immensely. There are over 220 neighborhoods and seemingly a festival for every one of them in Baltimore. I also witnessed, as a kid, I witnessed the decline of the downtown in the 70s and 80s, the closure of all the department stores and the rise of the Inner Harbor as the shiny new thing. And they're now going to rebuild the Inner Harbor again as the new shiny new thing. The unemployment for African Americans in Baltimore is over 25%. But also, the city has a young, dynamic mayor, and the governor of Maryland, Wes Moore, is a likely presidential candidate. Baltimore is a city of history and hope. When I was a teenager, I attended an all-night co-ed sleepover at the UU Church in Towson in Baltimore County. Even though I was an Episcopalian at the time, they let me go. It was an all-night Monty Python festival, so UU. Now, back to GA, the business of a beloved community. At some level, GA is an annual business meeting. We voted on bylaws, we elected a moderator, we debated resolutions and study action issues. While Reverend Sarah talked to us a few weeks ago about the worship services, Roger and I spent hours in business meetings, and that's what we want to talk about today. And let me tell you, the UU process is slow, it is deliberate, and it is democratic to the bone. It can also be maddening, but it's designed that way. There are people assigned to monitor the process, to challenge the moderator, to ensure that every voice has a chance to be heard. In one case, a vote was completely overturned, not because of backroom deals, but because more people spoke. The more the people spoke, the more light was shed and the body changed its mind. That's sacred. That's democracy in action. We even used ranked choice voting. And it's a kind of sacred patience.
But clearly, GA is more than business. It's really our annual recalibration, a time to gather strength, to renew our commitments, to respond to the world with clarity and courage. It's where we gather not just to do the work of governance, but to remind ourselves why the work matters, to bend the arc of the moral universe towards justice. The theme this year was Meet the Moment. So we were asked to reflect on 3 questions. What is the moment we're in? What are the most urgent and important needs of this moment? How do our UU values call us to respond? I won't pretend to have all the answers, because they didn't give them to us, but I came away knowing this. We must not cede the ground of faith. We must not surrender the sacred to those who claim to own it. Who is sacred? Aren't trans? Yeah, Ed is totally right. Aren't trans kids sacred? I know, too, all of us. Who is sacred? Aren't trans kids sacred? Yes. Aren't Palestinians in Gaza sacred? Yes. Aren't immigrants sacred? Yes. Aren't people living in larger bodies sacred? Yes. Aren't incarcerated people sacred? Yes. Our faith says yes, 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 again and again. And so we are called to meet this moment not with despair, but with sacred defiance. So one of the things that we do at the GA is we determine what are going to be our, what they call actions of immediate witness. What are the things that we are going to put on the table for right now that we really have to engage with each other and work towards resolving. And so the 3 things that were voted on and passed were, 1, affirming the dignity and rights of immigrants. The second one, calling for faithful defiance of authoritarianism. And the third one focused was standing in solidarity with the global LGBTQIA plus community under threat. These are not just resolutions, they really are calls to action. The world is moving fast and we are not spectators. Actually, we must not be spectators.
And for our longer-term focus, the delegates selected a profound study action issue: abolition, transformation, and faith formation. This is more than prison abolition. It's about abolishing systems of violence and punishment wherever they show up, in our laws, in our congregations, and in our hearts. Within the first hour of arriving there, and while we were all getting our name badges and credentials and figuring out the Wi-Fi and how to listen to the opening ceremony, we sat down in some comfy chairs next to some folks with bright yellow T-shirts that said, "Ask me about abolition." Turns out these women were part of the Canadians with the Church of the Larger Fellowship who had proposed this change. Surprising to me, at least, I learned that there were a large group of members of the CLF, Church of the Larger Fellowship, who are incarcerated. Members have developed relationships with those in prison through being pen pals and sometimes helping with reentry. hence the passion. We will have an opportunity to learn more about this in the coming months and decide how we want to engage with this issue. This is about transformative justice, about spiritual courage, and about building communities where healing replaces harm.
And I think sometimes as we look at what the UUA is doing, and sometimes we're not seems sometimes we're way out here in the wilderness, right? Apart from some of those things. And so I think there are just amazing amount of resources and things that we could take more advantage of that we don't, and that's one of the things I think I came away from as well. So I think for some of you who were at the GA last year, you probably know this more than the rest of us, but this shift is happening. There's a major shift happening in our very structure. Last year, delegates adopted new shared values to replace the old principles and sources in the UUA bylaws. So for anybody here who might have known Jim Holden, I don't know, there might be a few. Rick, I know for sure, a few others. Jim was a great old member of the congregation, but he used to call these were where the principles were listed. He called them he used to call them the coffee cup catechism. This was so they're long. And now we've shifted to this new framework that is built like a flower with love at the center. See this? Okay. And 6 values radiating out. And so those are interdependence. It's my Vanna. Pluralism. Justice. Equity. Transformation. And generosity. And we do have, I had it here somewhere. Oh, there it is. Out in the vestibules, we have this card. This is what do you believe? And we have one that has the principles on it, and this other one that has the values on it that focus on all of those and what they mean. But these is sort of our centering. What do we believe as UUs? And of course, that can vary a lot. But but anyway, these are sort of to be grounding concepts for us. And it really isn't a change in direction. It's really an evolution, a deeper rooting in what has always been true of us. And it matters, not just for how we vote in GA, but really how we live every day.
It's been difficult in Idaho over the last several years to witness the attacks on trans youth and adults. This congregation has stood up and stood by the LGBTQIA+ people as a covenant of faith. It has not ever been easy to defend people's rights, and it seems to get harder all the time, especially in Idaho. We are not alone in this fight, though. The prestigious Ware lecturer was a journalist and activist, Amara Jones, who reminded us in her powerful lecture, anti-trans politics are not a side issue. They're a wedge in the door of authoritarianism. If we do not act in solidarity with trans people, if we do not resist these forces, we risk losing far more than rights. We risk losing our democracy, our moral center, and our humanity.
It was a really powerful speech, and if you get an opportunity to listen to it, I believe it's up on the website. Really, really powerful. I'd never heard of her before, but this Ware lecture is the lecture that is given as sort of the crowning, other than services, I guess, but the crowning piece of the GA, and Martin Luther King was a speaker there. I'm not remembering who. Gwen, you must know other people. Give me a name or two. But there's some really biggies on that list. Mary Oliver. Yeah, Mary Oliver. Norman Lear. Okay, good. Great. Thank you. I like this crowdsourcing activity. It's really good. But yeah, it's big, and she is just really powerful speaker, and really gives you kind of a sense of what I don't know, the realities of our time in some ways, about particularly in relationship to the impact on LGBTQIA folks. Yeah. So I promised Patricia a moment of clarity that I found during GA. I wrote that as part of my little thing of what my description was going to be. I said I didn't know what that meant when I first said it, so then I had to think about what that actually was about. But then as I thought about it, the moment emerged. We were walking through the big exhibit hall with all of the talking to people about basically every social issue imaginable. There's people talking about everything, that we can think of all around that room. And we heard music, just a small little keyboard that somebody had. And the song we sang and they were singing the song that we sang at the beginning of the service this morning. So we are going, heaven knows where we are going, but we know within, and we'll get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. And yeah, the road will be muddy and rough, but we'll get there because we have to. We have to. That was the moment. That was the clarity. We don't have to know exactly how we'll get there. We just have to believe it's possible. And we have to keep walking together with muddy shoes, hopeful hearts, fierce, fragile faith. So may we meet this moment with its uncertainty, with all its urgency, with all its opportunity, not with fear, but with love. Let us not cede the sacred. Let us not cede our values. Let us not cede our courage. Let us meet the moment and help bend the arc together. May it be so. Amen. If you want to get into any details, we'll hang around for a bit, so talk about anything specific.
Thank you. You got us all stirred. Maybe we'll join you next time.
Next year it's going to be online, so.
But we could do it here.
Oh, he said next year it's going to be online.
New sanctuary and then, breakout groups.
So we can gather here together. It'll feed in what's ever going on, and we can all participate. Yay. Thank you. Each week, we take time to acknowledge the many joys among us and to grieve our sorrows and losses so that we might lift that burden for each other and receive the blessing of this community. It is through our sharing with one another that we forge deep bonds of community and connection. And so we have this joy today to share. Blake and Valerie McCallum report their daughter Maya gave birth to their grandson Damien July 15th at 10:42 p.m. Damien weighed 6 pounds 9 ounces and was 19 3/4 inches long. Both daughter and grandson are doing well. If you're holding someone in your heart this morning, I invite you to speak their name aloud into this community of love, that we might hold them with you. Thank you. May the arms of this community hold all of our joys and sorrows, those named and those that remain silent and close to our hearts. Let us together take a deep breath in and out, releasing the sorrows of the world that the world knows too well, and finding comfort in our companionship with one another. Recognize that you are part of a whole and holy community where joy and woe are woven fine. I invite you now to rise in body or spirit and join together in singing our closing hymn 1051 in the teal hymnal. All the repeat signs in the music will be observed. We don't know what that means, but okay. Friends, I invite you to place your hands over your heart for our closing blessing from Theodore Parker. Be ours a religion which, like the sunshine, goes everywhere. Its temple, all space, its shrine, the good heart, its creed, all truth, its ritual, works of love, its profession of faith, divine living. Go in peace.